Hello world of YouTube and welcome to another special episode of ARC, the show where I get to be an asshole reviewing comics. Not special because it's another entry into the Year of the Spider, no, special because we have another Coheed and Cambria album. But I'm not going to be talking about the Amory Wars because we are in the middle of another trilogy, so I can wait until this trilogy's done, really catch up on the story, and talk about it and make a whole Coheed fest about it. No! We're instead going to talk about Killaudio, the side series Claudio started back in late 2009, early 2010, or at least that's when these were published through Boom Studios. It has nothing to do with the Amory Wars, but it does have everything to do with a toy deal. Claudio and his wife wanted to make a little toy Claudio, but they didn't want to make it just Claudio. They wanted to do something special with it. And then was born Killaudio. A story involving this demigod, or a void as they're called in here, Killaudio, that's his name, whose sole purpose is to be the absence of musical taste. This whole comic is him going through this existential crisis because he hasn't been home, and so he's just been immortal and being put through hell, like being drowned for 10 days straight, before being thrust into plot and thrust into friendship. For everything that is alright that I'll have to say about this comic, there are some glaring, weird pacing issues with this comic that really set it back. One of the things I can say that I do like about it, though, before I get into the negatives, is the presentation. The whole comic is illustrated and colored in this black and white, red-focused style, and they use it very, very well, whether it's to act as the word bubbles for this Siren-esque character, or for part of the musical, the diegetic sound that you hear in the world. It acts as a good juxtaposition in the background as well. It makes it pop, and it's something that I didn't remember about when I initially started to reread this, because I read this when it came out. Like, I've had these. These were like some of the first editions I made into my comic book collection. It was the Killaudio series. I bought the first 3 issues at a Hot Topic, and then a friend of mine gave me the back 3 issues as a gift for the holidays. Shout out to Devin. I really like the art style. I like the way it looks. I like the character design. Killaudio's posse in this story is comprised of a cocaine-addicted chicken that they call Chico, who he meets when he's having sex with other chickens that aren't really there and are just a part of his hallucinations. He does a lot of drugs, and he's very extreme all the time. There's a lot of extreme exuberance. It's a very animated style comic book and story presentation. The general art direction of these comics, I think, is really quality. That is another picture of Chico. This is Beeve. He is a music-loving skeleton in a beaver costume, whose best friends is a pillow named DJ. They just randomly join the crew when they find Chico, are challenging them to a basketball game. It's whirlwinds through the meetups of everybody, and that kind of ties into that pacing issue. But they'll spend these comics going into side characters that play so little into the plot in some points, like the family of Killaudio, his brothers and sisters, who are also voids of art, and whose sole purpose is to rein in the art. I feel like they spend so much time on these characters that don't quite need all that much time. While, yes, one of his siblings does tie so heavily into the plot, and the siblings kind of help reinforce that part of the plot, it just still feels like there's just too much time wasted with these people. Especially when they don't tie as much into the plot as, say, Beeve and DJ. You don't really find out much about them, or who they are, or what they're doing. They just kind of join the plot. And that's kind of stuff that I feel like I would enjoy more as a fan of comic books. The only character that doesn't really get a whole lot of backstory that I'm cool with having the minimal backstory is the assailant, the, hired killer that's trying to kill Killaudio. Because he comes in at the best times, and he leaves when he's not really needed. But there's a lot of components that just feel underexplained by and large. It explains enough in some regards. I think that when Killaudio gets put in the path of the plot and he learns about his purpose through Clockwork, the robot that oversees the other voids, I think that him getting on the path of harnessing the insanity of music is a cool idea, and they really explain that process to some degree in depth enough. And I like that each genre has their own embodiments that you do meet throughout the story, and I like the inclusions that they have. You know, I think that there's some cool ideas in that regard, and I feel like it's really cool to kind of think about the idea of genre and the limits that it truly can reach, but taking that infinite depth and trying to quantify it into like a sort of physical being that lives in a world is kind of interesting. You know, and they really talk about subgenres and the intensity of in weirdness that can get pretty heavily in the plot as well. And I think that it's a good concept. I just feel like it should have explained more. It should have illustrated more. But I feel like there's not enough of it. You know, for characters that are around for a decent amount longer. You know, I feel like even this right here, this tentacle thing never happens again. But it comes in at a key point in combat, and it feels like a power that just is completely forgot about. You know, there's some MacGuffining going on that kind of holds back this concept into doing something much better. Plus, there's an elephant in the room. In the last issue, there is a word said that is pretty ableist, and it still gets casually thrown around like it's nothing, and that's not really my jive. And I feel like at that point, given how sort of undercooked parts of the story felt, it just kind of took me out of it full stop. You know, I know that there's some people that don't mind the use of the word, but it's just not something that really brings me into an experience, you know. And while the main villain is the one that says it, you just hate the existence of it in general. Like, yeah, it could be meant to hammer the nail home that this guy's just a piece of shit. And if that's the case, yeah, it was effective, because fuck that guy. But it just took me out. The inclusion of it just took me out in general. You know, it undercut a sequence after that featuring Beeve that was pretty fucking rad. I really liked that part in general. That's the biggest glaring issue I found in the comic that had nothing to do with the underdeveloped characters, undercooked story, or stalling out on a concept that had some promise. I don't know. I went into this hopeful again. I was like, maybe it's been a long time I've had distance from it, but if anything, it soured me a bit more on the what could have been with Killaudio. Again, it's a great looking comic. It's got a really good utilization of its art style. I feel like the character of Killaudio, they do a lot with the bit that he's a short, immortal demigod pretty well. There's a lot of short jokes thrown at the expense of the character, but it's all in good fun in that regard. You know, his love interest is a really cool sort of play on his love of audio or his lack of love of audio. Like, the little things like that I feel like are really charming, but there's just some really dumb shit that sets this comic back in ways that it didn't need to. But those are my thoughts on Killaudio. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you heard of this? Have you read this? Do you like this? Do you enjoy this? Do you like the concept? Do you wish Claudio would do more tangential writing like this and Color Before the Sun? You know, I personally do. I like that he takes experiments away from the Amory Wars, and I kind of wish he did it more. They talked about doing a sequel record, like a song that is comprised of sequels to other songs. I would have loved to have seen that more than this Vaxxus trilogy. I'm not hating the Vaxxus trilogy, but I don't know. I get really bogged down with Coheed when it comes to like really thinking about the band and the music that they make, because they have a pretty stacked discography, and I like a lot of what they do. But I would enjoy seeing Claudio break out of that Amory-coated shell a little more frequently. But that's my thoughts. That's my general odd, tangential, parallel thoughts to the subject at hand. But I'm going to go, though. If you like this, give it a like. If you want to see more of my music, gaming, and general nerdery content, be sure to subscribe. Special thanks to my patrons. If you want to join their ranks to get early access to content, exclusive content, or to help drive the community through polls, it's linked in the description. This is posting on July 1st now, which is the beginning of Patron Appreciation Month. So I will be doing a handful of videos this month and a playthrough that were all decided on by my patrons over on my Patreon. So if you want to join in their ranks to help participate in other things going on, it's linked in the description. Thank you again so very much for watching. I've been Viral Rack. You guys have good days, lives, and situations, and I'll see you another day.